tries to avoid everything, and that's why. So if you can come up with an example in your previous job where you've had to deal with a difficult colleague, or you've had to deal with a different customer, or you've done, you know, an order that went wrong, and how did you do it? They just want to know that you can fix mistakes that you've made and things like that. So if you were then to turn around and say, well, I had a problem with a colleague that I worked with because she was very bossy and, you know, we didn't get on, our personalities crashed. The next question I'm going to ask you is, how did you deal with that? And what I don't want you to turn around and say is, oh, I just beat her up outside work. What I do want you to say is, well, I spoke to the manager about it, we had a meeting with the manager and we discussed it, we both put our points across, and we found it a lot easier to work together after we'd had that discussion, and then now it's all behind us and now we're really good friends. You know, you need to be able to say how you fix the situation, how it impacted it, and then, you know, the fact that you are one of these people that deals with things. What motivates you is another question that I think is something I tend to ask, because if somebody turns around and says, well, I like it when I get pay rise like every 6 months, I'm like, well, that's not going to happen here, so that's not going to be someone I want to hire. Because if they're only motivated by money, we're in the middle of a recession, a double recession, and I just think, well, you know, if I can't offer that person a pay rise every 6 months that they want, are they going to just not do the work? Are they going to get lazy? Are they going to leave? But if somebody says, well, I want new challenges, I like meeting new people, I want to put my skills into a new job, I like being praised, those are all the things that I can do as a manager, and I've already in my head then worked out how I've got to manage this person to get the most out of them when I take them on. Strengths and weaknesses is something that you always get asked about in an interview. They'll always say, what are the things that you think are good in your, you know, personality? What are the things that you don't think are good? With the strengths, obviously they want to hear that you're approachable, they want to hear that you're hardworking, they want to hear that you're willing to learn, you're mouldable, you take criticism really well. What they don't want to hear is you come in and say about your weaknesses, oh, well, I'm lazy and I'm always late, because you need to turn your weaknesses into strengths. So you need to say, okay, well, when I first started my job at the last place, I was a really shy person because I was used to working in a job where I didn't have to speak to people, and now as I went to my new job, I developed these skills, I had to start talking to the public, and I became a lot more confident. Or you can say something like, well, I'm a perfectionist. And you might wonder why it's a bad thing, but actually, if I'm a perfectionist, it takes me a little bit longer than everybody else to finish my task, because I want to make sure that I'm doing the best job that I can do with the tools that I've got. And they're the kind of answers I'm looking for. I don't want you to be like completely brutally honest and say, oh my god, I'm late to work every day and that's why. Because in my head I'm thinking, they're not going to get the job. What skills do you think you need to have this job? So if you're applying for a job, you in your head should already have a rough idea of what that job is going to entail. So if you're going to go for a job as a cashier in a supermarket, you need to know how to use a till. Kind of computer skills would be quite a good idea. Speaking to people that you've never met before, if you're running their items through the till, you know, you need to show all these kind of skills. So you need to be chatty, you need to have good personality, you need to have like computer skills, and you're obviously handling money and things like that. If that's something that you've done in a previous job, again, it's just another thing that will give you a little bit of a tick. Another question that I always get asked in interviews are, why should I hire you? And I would say that's when you relate your strengths to the job that you're applying for. So you say, well, I'm going for this job as a cashier because I have already worked handling money, I've already worked dealing with customers, I've already worked doing this, I can, you know, when I'm not doing this, I can help with this and this and this. And you need to put all your strengths with the job that you're going for. Another question that tends to be asked quite a lot in interviews is describe yourself in 3 words. And I would say this is your chance to basically burst, you know, this is your chance to kind of rave about yourself. So if you think you're approachable, you're friendly, you're, you know, if you're going for a job in the, you know, makeup industry, you're fashionable, you keep up with the trends, this is your chance to kind of go, yeah, I'm great because of this. Another question that's kind of a little bit strange but gets asked quite a lot nowadays in interviews, it's like a new type of thing they start asking, is if you were an animal, what type of animal would you be? And you might think it's a really stupid thing to ask, but actually what they want to get from you when they ask things like this is they want to see how you think on the spot, and basically that, you know, if you say, I mean, I think 2 really bad answers for this question are, number 1, bunny rabbit, because they're just going to think, what a wuss. They're just going to think, right, very smushy and going to be walked all over, basically. And don't go in there either and say, oh, I'm a lion, because then straight away you're going to come across as aggressive and alpha male, and basically no one's going to like you. I thought of a couple of answers that I thought were quite good. I've never been asked this, and I've never asked this, but I know that generally these are kind of interview questions that people get asked a little bit more nowadays. And I thought, actually, something like a chameleon would be a really good answer for this question, because a chameleon obviously adapts itself to change to its different environments, and I think for a job that you're going for, if you don't know what you're going to be doing, that is a really good answer to give. But also, I thought of another really good answer myself, actually. I was going to say a chimp, and I know it sounds a bit silly, but I think chimps are animals that learn really, really quickly, and they watch and they observe and they pick up new skills, and then they basically can climb their way to the top, and you know, they're just quite, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but they're quite agile animals, and they kind of just get to where they want to go, and they can go, you know, they can be in a group or they can be by themselves, and I just think chimp was a really good answer. And where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? Again, they want to know if you're still going to be there. They want to know, if you sit there and say, oh, I'm going to be doing the same thing again, or I'm still going to be here, then I'm just kind of thinking, do you not really have any self-respect? Do you not want to do something different with your life? But if they turn around and say, oh, I'd still love to be with the same company, but I'd love to be in this position or that position, I think that gives me the sense that, yeah, maybe they'll stick around and they're a good person to invest in, but also that they've got some sort of aspiration, which is, in my opinion, just a massive, massive bonus when they've got some sort of, you know, aspirations, and they've got some incentive, and they actually want to get somewhere with their life. And the last question I tend to ask is basically more about themselves, because if you're going to interview somebody and that you're going to give them a job, they're going to be there for kind of, you know, 6 days a week, 5 to 6 days a week with you, and you need to know whether you can like that person or not. So generally through the interview you kind of get a feel of these things by how they answer the questions. But I would always kind of ask them right at the end, tell me something about yourself, tell me what you like doing when you're not at work. And the kind of things I want to hear are just kind of normal stuff. You know, I like reading, I like travelling, I like going on holidays, I like spending time with my family, I like spending time with my niece, I like, you know, I've got lots of groups of friends, I've got friends abroad, I like doing this, I'm into photography, I want to know that they're just a normal person. But if somebody, you know, I've actually done an interview for somebody and he told me that his hobbies and his spare time, he likes doing extra maths and reading economics books. And all I thought was, are you trying to impress me by saying that, or do you think that, or is that what you actually do? Because I just, after a while, I just thought, you know, that sounds wonderful for you, but that doesn't show me that you're a very social person. And obviously that made me just think, oh, okay, well that's great for you, but if you're sitting in your room every day and you're just reading books on, you know, economy, and you're sitting there doing maths puzzles when you're, whatever floats your boat. So just basically asking questions about them. And I always say to people at the beginning of an interview, I say, this isn't a test, it's not an exam. If you need to think about your answers, then think about them. Don't rush your answers, because, you know, you'll inevitably regret it when you get home. You'll think, oh god, why did I say that? So I always say to people at the beginning of interviews, I'm not here to interrogate you, I'm not here to examine you. All I want to know is find out about you and find out if you've kind of got the skills, or we can mould you to get the skills that we need to be successful in this job. And I usually find that's enough to start like calming them down a little bit, because when they're really nervous they just ramble and they just say the first thing that comes into their head, and then they go, oh no, hang on, you know, and they stutter and they get nervous. So let people know. Yeah, I think it's quite a nice thing that if the if the interviewer comes across nice, then I think you kind of get a little bit more out of them, and you get a little bit more of their personality out of them. So guys, I hope this was helpful. I know I had to ramble a little bit because I knew I had to get loads into a short space of time, so I am going to split it into like a part 1 and a part 2 because there's a lot to cram in. But I really hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video.